Hi, everybody. It's Angelo Caruso. I'm on with David DeNotaris today. How are you, David?
Oh, it's wonderful to be with you, Michael. Thank you. Great.
We've been waiting to do this for a long time. I appreciate your patience.
Absolutely. Well, you're a busy guy, and I'm privileged to be with you.
Well, you're busy as well. You travel more than I do these days, and I want to know more about that. Before we get started, everybody, this is the Talk to Me podcast. It's available on Podbean and iTunes. You can also watch the video version of it on YouTube. David, I'm so pleased that you're with me today. I want to tell everybody about you before we launch into some questions. I have so many things to ask you. David DeNotaris was born with a rare eye disorder, everybody. It's called Retinitis Pigmentosa, or RP. The doctors insisted that David's life was hopeless, but David's family knew better and provided the type of information and inspiration that he needed to overcome the challenge of blindness. David's won a lot of awards, ladies and gentlemen, as an author and a speaker. He's been nominated and selected to deliver a graduate address at the Montclair Saint University commencement ceremony. He's spoken to this was at the Continental Airlines Arena. He's been Outstanding Speaker of the Year for the National Speakers Association, the New York City chapter, and he's in the International Who's Who for motivational speakers and trainers. Nice job, David.
Thank you, sir.
You've also been featured in the Exceptional Parent Magazine, the Associated Press International, USA Today, Washington Post, Newark Star Ledger. And what most people on listening and watching this interview will take note of, David, is you haven't had a chance to read any of those articles in the conventional way anyway. How serious is your blindness, sir?
Well, gee, it was almost like listening to my obituary there for a second, Michael. So, Michael, I can just see shapes and shadows. When I was younger, 4 or 5 years old, I was able to read with a magnifying glass, and but then retinitis pigmentosa, it's a progressive eye condition that causes scarring on the retina, and an individual loses their peripheral vision, the ability to see on the sides, and they lose their ability to see at night, and then it continued to get close in and close in. And when I was 19, I was a sophomore at East Stroudsburg University. I went totally blind from retinitis pigmentosa.
So you mentioned the word progressive, which is everybody's worst nightmare when we're talking about maladies. Are you as blind as you're ever going to be now, or is it still getting worse?
Well, I guess it could, be totally dark. Now it's just I could see light and, the sun or a really bright light, but that's really all I could see. But, it's, Michael, it's not something that, you just sit around and focus on, because we know that what we think about comes about. And if we think about our shortcomings, our heartbreaks, our despair, it seems to grow. But if we focus on our abilities, we think ability, not think disability. If we think we think ability, I believe that'll grow as well. And so that's what I love to do, Michael. I love helping people focus on their ability.
I love your attitude. And I've heard, we've got a lot of mutual friends in the speaking business, of course. Jack Canfield, all these guys have said for a long time that what the mind thinks about expands. So I just love the fact that you're able to somehow distract yourself from what most people would consider to be very, very distracting. You just got back. Go ahead, sir.
I was going to share with you that someone told me a long time ago, Michael, that blindness was going to make me bitter or better, and I better pick the right one.
Very good. Very good.
I don't know what challenge your viewers, your listeners are facing, but I would share that with them to put a handle on that concept that whatever challenge they're facing today, physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, financial, and a relationship, that challenge is going to make you bitter or better, but you have to pick the right one, and it's a choice. And it's a choice. You could choose to be discouraged, or you could choose to be encouraged. And I want to be encouraged. I want to be happy. I believe we were put here for a reason. I believe that we were put here to make a difference, and not to wallow, or when you have a pity party, you're pretty soon you're close to a pit.
Yeah. Pretty soon that would happen.
Pretty soon.
Listen, I know you're just back to town. Can I ask you a little bit about how you get around? You know,
Oh,
I
yes.
do a lot of dates. I fly. I'm jumping in Ubers and public transportation. And you just got back from Boston. Do you travel alone or do you have assistants?
Oh yeah, I typically travel alone. Michael, I get that question a lot, and people say, Dave, how do you know where do you go when you get off the train? How do you know where you go when you get off the bus? How do you know to go when you get off the plane? And I always say, well, how do you know where to go? Well, well, I look for the signs. Well, I ask people where to go. Michael, like Albert Einstein said, the most important question we may ever answer is, do you live in a friendly or hostile universe? And I live, Michael, in a friendly universe where people want to help. And Michael, just last night, I was coming home from Washington, D.C., and I took the train in, and I took the train from D.C. to Philly, and then Philly into Hershey, where my family lives, right into Harrisburg. And I was getting off the train, and there was no one there to help. It was 8 degrees, and I got off the train, and I heard the other people walking, to the right, and they got off the train. I started walking to the right, and this lady, she just came out of nowhere, Michael, divine intervention or whatever it is. Sir, can I help you? Where are you trying to go? I said, oh, can you please tell me where the station door is? Absolutely. It's 20 feet on the left. I'm going there myself. Would you like to follow me? Absolutely. So, Michael, like, leap and the net will appear. If you want to sit back and think, well, there's no way I can do it. It can't be done. It's not possible. Well, Henry Ford said, if you think you can or can't, either way, you're going to be right. So I like to think that I can do it. I like to think that, people are always going to help, and they do, Michael. And so I just, it's the law of inertia. Things in motion stay in motion. And I love to stay in motion. I love helping getting other people in motion.
Well, you're inspirational, David. Can I ask some personal questions? How are you?
Absolutely.
How old are you, sir?
I just turned 49 years old.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. Thank you.
Um,
And
you, you just got back from Boston. You were teaching or doing sales training, maybe a keynote for Boston Market. Was that one of the recent gigs?
Oh yes, yes. I was speaking for Boston Market in Denver, Colorado, Golden, Colorado, and it was such a the chief operating officer there, Eric Wyatt, is such a possibility thinker, and he just loves bringing people in. And I've worked with Eric at Panera's, and I've worked with him now at Boston Market, and he loves just putting people in front of his team. Like he says, he likes to stretch imagination and raise expectations and then improve opportunities. And so I just love getting in front of his team and other sales teams and helping people believe, Michael, people believe that they could do something that maybe they once thought they couldn't do, or help them believe they believe that they could do something that maybe someone told them they couldn't do. And so I love to share with them. There's always strategies. There's always a way that you can get something done, and you got to keep on keeping on. You can't give up. You got to persist through the resistance. And when you do that, you get lucky.
Yeah. Well, lucky and part skill. You're working your ass off, near as I can tell.
Well, my mom would say, when preparation and opportunity meet, that's when you get lucky.
That's right. That's right.
Mm-hmm.
You were telling me before we pressed record today, David, that you were talking, or I guess the way it was introduced to you is that Boston Market, like most food preparation experts, are always concerned about food safety, and the term food poisoning had come up more than once. It's something that, of course, every restaurateur wants to avoid, and
Yep.
you found a way to spin that into a very unique message for them. Do you mind sharing?
Oh, absolutely, Michael. I do lots of work for all kinds of companies, pharmaceutical companies, insurance companies, financial companies, universities, colleges, associations, like you, all over the country. And I'm very blessed that I love encouraging people. People need encouragement like flowers need rain, right?
Yeah.
And so I wish, and certainly being mindful of food poisoning for the retailer food organizations we work with. Not only do we need to be concerned with food poisoning, we need to be concerned with mood poisoning. Mood poisoning of poisoning of our staff with negative thinking or negative comments or negative behaviors and mood poisoning of our customers when they're not treated with respect or dignity or knowing that they are always right, and mood poisonings of our purveyors. And so it's really important. It's really important. It's a choice. It's our attitude, not our aptitude, that'll determine our altitude, right? So having a positive attitude and being mindful of our moods, right? And
Yeah.
we know that it's so important that our moods are contagious. Does anyone want to catch yours?
Yeah, boy, what a great attitude you have. And it reminds me that today people are so sensitized. Everybody's so thin-skinned about stuff. It's not just about politics, but outrage is like a fraction of a second away from everybody these days.
Oh yeah.
And you're so encouraging because you've got some, things that maybe have you traveling a bit slower or taking
Yep.
a little bit longer to figure things out. You're
Yep.
focused on some basic, I don't know, 8 degrees. You don't want to be outside a little any longer than you have to be in 8 degrees.
That's right.
And so you're worried about transportation and not spending too much time outside. You don't have time to get outraged, do you?
Michael, it's not even a good use of our energy, right? Someone told me that anger is only one letter short of danger, right? You
Yeah.
put a D in front of anger, you got danger, and then you're blinded by your anger, and then you're not thinking right, and you're not going to make good decisions. So it's so important that we are mindful of our moods, right? Michael, the only exercise some people get is running their mouths and flying off the handle and jumping to conclusions. So, and so I really try to make it my business to, stay cool, stay calm, just believing that it's got to work out. It's got to work out. It's got to be better than this. You got to keep on keeping on. Michael, and just like when we were starting today, and I use assistive technology to access my computer. Everything talks. You heard my computer talking, and my iPhone right here, and that talks as well. And sometimes it doesn't work right away, and you just you could get frustrated, or you could get fascinated. You can get curious, or you can get furious. So I'd rather just get fascinated and say, how can I figure this out, rather than how's this going to knock me out, right? It's because we're
Yeah,
going to either have a breakdown or a breakthrough. Pick one.
interesting. Yeah, a little behind the scenes intel for people that are watching. Of course, we're conducting this interview via Zoom, the Zoom platform, and
Yep.
it's hard enough for some people to figure it out with all 5 of their senses. And as David and I are trying to get their machines to talk to each other, mine just looks at me like a dumbass, and David's is barking orders at him. Reverse camera screen. It was a woman's voice, but she was very persistent. And I have to tell you, I was so glad when she finally stopped talking.
Oh, I was too. I was too. I'm glad we got that figured out, and I'm so grateful for your patience, because some people would have said, "Call me later." So thank you, Michael, for your patience.
I have a funny story for you. Speaking of technology, I had
Please.
I've been speaking a long time, like you
Yes.
have, and like you, I have these favorite gigs. I have these gigs in my memory bank that were just so unusual that I can never forget them. I had the great pleasure one time of speaking to, I believe the correct title of the organization was the National Association of the Blind. In fact, you probably know the gentleman. Kevin is his first name.
Oh yeah, yeah.
What's his last name?
I bet you're talking about the National Federation of the Blind, and you're probably talking about Kevin Worley.
That's it, Kevin Worley. What a great gentleman. Very, very interesting guy.
Awesome.
And
Awesome.
I remember a few things about the group. I remember, I'll tell you, I just share 2 anecdotes. I'll get your impression. The
Sure.
first was I've spoken in a lot of different countries and stuff. So I'm often working with translators. I've spoken to deaf people, and there's people
Right.
signing, at the front of
Sure.
the room. But this is my first gig with a bunch of blind people in the room, or
Right.
vision impaired, I think was a term that they liked as well.
Whatever.
And I always work the room before I talk, David. So I'm walking around the room introducing myself, and that was a fresh experience because they don't see that I'm standing there. I have to knock on the table or say hello and get their attention. In some cases, I'm tapping them on the shoulder to give them the physical impression that I'm standing near them.
Right.
And I caught myself actually giving some advice to a couple of people that were seated behind a pillar. And I actually started to say this, you might want to move because you won't be able to see me very well. And I caught myself and I was so embarrassed because I wasn't thinking like they were, right? And I'm sure they were okay with it, but I always remember that when I think about the gig. But the second piece was even more interesting.
Yes.
They told me, we were talking about leader dogs and people that have dogs to help them get around. They
Sure.
told me that dogs, and this is going back a few years now, that dogs were considered old technology because dogs couldn't help with some things that people needed help with these days. Do you have a dog? Do you work with a dog?
No, I don't. I don't have a dog. I use a long white cane, and I have lots of friends that use dog guides, and they're just amazing. But that's just a perspective, Michael. Like you might like a Honda, and I like a Toyota. But some people like canes, and some people. But I think that that's certainly dog guides are amazing tools, and if you're traveling in a big city where there's lots of people and lots of things to navigate, dog guides are amazing companions.
Yeah.
But I also, I don't have to walk my cane or feed my cane. I have 3 kids and a wife, and that's kind of enough responsibility for now. Maybe one day, but not right now.
Yeah. How old are your children, sir?
Oh, my son David, what an amazing blessing he is. He's 20. He's at the University of Scranton. My Mary Kate is a senior in high school, and my daughter Emily is a freshman in high school, and my wife Marianne, Michael. People say, "Oh, you're amazing." She's the amazing one, Michael. She's the biggest possibility thinker. She is, she's helped me figure stuff out. She's helped me believe in myself when I didn't believe in myself. I'm just blessed to have an amazing person, at my side and encouraging me.
Well, we all need a champion like that. Tell us a bit more about what you talk about when you go out and speak to groups. I know that you've got a big motivational stripe. You can do sales coaching, sales
Yeah.
training. What else? What do you like best?
Oh, well, I love working. I love working with salespeople. Salespeople are really, they're out there. They're hitting the streets. They're dealing with rejection. They're dealing with no thanks. They're dealing with constant, competition. So I
Mm.
love working with salespeople. I love working with students. I love encouraging students, college students, helping them believe that they can be the best that they can be. I believe that students now have more options, but less direction than ever before. So what can we do to give students some encouragement? I love dealing with teachers and educators and professionals. They're amazing people. I love working with people in the healthcare industry and law enforcement and the military and assisting them with resiliency training, the bounce back ability.
Mm.
Mike, one of the things I found, one of the greatest, people we're dealing with a lot of stress right now. There's stress on the news. There's stress on TV. We're constantly in front of these screens, and we're dealing with a lot of stressful things. And one of the things I've realized is that, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, is that, I think that people, when they're working from their email list rather than their to-do list, that they always feel overwhelmed. And if you don't have a really good to-do list to work from, to-do list, I believe you're being proactive, and the email list is you're constantly being reactive. What do you think about that?
Oh, for sure. What a cruel joke to have someone invent email where you're obligated to answer no matter when they send it, no matter who sends it, no matter how many people send it. I mean, who made up this game? you know?
Exactly. The never-ending game of email. Yes. Yep.
And I've got one for you. I'm all in favor of focusing on the to-do list, but lately I've been chatting a lot with folks about the not to-do list, because by avoiding distractions and by avoiding things that you really have no business doing, the difference between, for example, busy and productive,
Yes.
you can get a lot more done. So I love this idea that you just put out a minute ago, David, this more options. We have more options than ever, but less direction. A
Yes.
lot of people don't understand this concept that more choices is not necessarily a good thing.
No, no. It's nothing but confusion. It's nothing but confusion. And I love helping people. I've heard you say, Michael, it's important you pick a lane. You've
Mm.
got to be pick a lane and know what you do and do what you know. And it doesn't mean you stay in your box and or anything like that. But you don't have to, you can't do everything well. You can't do everything well. So what are the things that you really do well? What are the things that you're good at? And let's focus on those things. And the other things, the 3 Ds, Michael, you do it, you delegate it, or you dump it.
Yeah,
And it's so important that, and you, if we can't do it, then you got to give it to somebody else. And if you can't delegate it, maybe you should just dump it.
I love it. You're about to release a new format for your book, Feeling Your Way Through Life. Tell us about that.
Oh, yes. Michael, Feeling Your Way Through Life is a book that I worked on for a couple of years. And, people would immediately think, feeling with your hands. And that was never the intention. It's all about the feelings that you have on the inside. And can you manage those feelings? Can you manage those feelings? Because if you can't manage your feelings, if you can't manage yourself, who can you possibly manage?
Mm.
And so we know we think about, and what we feel about is going to come about, right? So
Mm-hmm.
how are you feeling? How are you feeling on the inside? And because our feelings are revealing. Our feelings are revealing. So if you're upset, you're angry, you're frustrated, people are going to know it. If you're feeling good, if you're feeling grateful, if you're thankful, nothing is more magnetic, like metal is to metal, magnet is to metal, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then the feeling good and gratitude, having an attitude of gratitude. When we're grateful, great things happen. And feeling grateful. I love to, every morning, I love to get up every morning. It's good morning, God. I believe something great is going to happen to me and through me today. And then
Yeah.
you get up and look for it.
I think grateful should be spelled GREAT
Yeah.
FULL, right?
Yep.
Full of
Yep.
great.
Full of great. You know it.
I love it, man. I think I've said this for a long time, that emotion cripples rational discussion. I think feelings are important, but if you're trying to get a job done, or you're focused on a problem, and now we're back to a little bit of leadership advice for the listeners,
Yes.
that you really have to focus on the problem, fix the problem, not the person. This
Oh,
idea of
yeah.
trying to mend other people and fix people. Fixing people is a direct accusation that they're broken, and nobody likes to hear this, right?
Oh, Michael, I like to tell people, I'm not here to fix the blame. I'm here to fix the problem.
That's it.
So that's so important that we work on the problem. And Michael, you know what? We're in the solution business. We're in the
Yeah.
solution business, focusing on the solutions, right? My dad would say, summarize the problem in 17 words or less, and then spend the rest of your time on the solution. So why was it 17 words? Well, 17 words are probably the amount of words that you could write on a business card. Can you summarize the problem? Summarize the problem in 17 words or less, spend the rest of your time on the solution. Because if you can't summarize the problem, you probably don't know what it is.
That's wise advice coming from old man DeNotaris. What did he do for work?
Dad was Michael. Dad was in first generation from Italy,
Mm-hmm.
and then came to the United States. Joined the United States Army. Was in the Navy, and he was always learning. Always learning. He loved, and he would tell people, "I don't have a college degree, but I do have a library card." And so, and he was always encouraged us. He told us that literacy was the key that would unlock our potential. And so he was the health inspector in a small town, Montclair, New Jersey, around 11 miles west of New York City.
Yeah.
And he had 6 kids. I'm the baby of 6, 3 boys and 3 girls. And my dad, Michael, he taught us about the 3 F's: our faith, our family, and our friends. They can help us overcome any problem, any obstacle, any barrier. Faith in our higher power, faith in ourselves, faith in our family, faith in our friends. You surround yourselves with that, you're going to make it.
Great advice.
Yeah.
With David DeNotaris, everybody, it's daviddenotaris.com. That's DENOTARIS. He's a Paisan.
You know it.
And he's releasing his Feeling Your Way Through Life. It's an audiobook this time around, or did you say an ebook?
Oh, we're doing it. We're doing an ebook this time, so we're really excited about that. And then we're also working on our next book, Michael, Fitting In, Not Sitting Out.
Excellent. Well, you're a pleasure, sir. I hope we run into each other on the speaking circuit.
Oh, Michael, I love your work. You're amazing at what you do, and I'm just so grateful. And I love following you on social media, and you continue to give me and so many people encouragement. So thank you so much, and keep up the great work.
My pleasure. Let's do more together, David. Say hi to the family, will you?
You got it. Best wishes. Full speed ahead.
Bye-bye.